Josh says, how deep do you go into creating a setting? Do you think about like planets, axial tilt, rotation period, existence of a moon that would affect the world? It depends, Josh. In the past, I've definitely discussed like what the moons look like, or moon, you know. In the past, I've had a world setting where there were 2 moons and they looked like such and such, and you know, there were this many days in each month and whatnot. Honestly, if I was writing a story, then I would probably go into much more detail. I would, you know, I would talk about how long each month is. I would talk about like how long a year is in the world. But in my experience, players very rarely, or at least the players that I've had in my games, very rarely actually get anything from that information. So the way I tend to do it nowadays is that a year is a year, a week is a week. Maybe if I'm feeling particularly exciting, then maybe instead of a week, we'll have a 10-day, you know? There'll just be 10 days, rolling 10 days, and there'll be, you know, the same amount of 10 days as we have weeks in the year, and then I'll calculate how many days in the year there are as a result of that. But more often than not, no, I don't really tend to go into like that much detail as per like, you know, lunar life cycle and rotation period, things like that. If I was making a world as a passion project, and I wasn't going to be using it in game, chances are I would probably incorporate that sort of stuff in there, because it's a passion project. So it's me sort of, it would be a workout for my mind trying to figure out how all those things coincide. But if it's just for a tabletop game, I probably wouldn't tend towards that sort of stuff, just to keep it as simple as possible for the players, you know? Sometimes less is more, in the sense of, you know, if you're playing a tabletop game and you're in your world setting and one of your players says, what's this thing? Or, you know, they ask a question. Realistically, you don't want to have to go and scroll through like folders and archives and whatnot to find that information. I always personally find it much better if I can just either improvise it off the top of my head, in which case I'll make a note of whatever I said, or if it's just a simplistic piece of information that I would know off the top of my head very easily. But yeah, I don't know, I suppose everyone's different. There are those out there who have, I'm sure, incredibly complex worlds, incredibly lifelike worlds. I would love to play in a game where the world is so lifelike that, you know, all of those details have been taken into account. My brain definitely could not handle it. I think my brain would start to melt out of my nose if I took all of that into account. Or at least I'd have to scroll through page after page of note to keep my players in the loop of what the world's like. But it's interesting. It's an interesting thought. Because like I say, if it was a passion project rather than like something that I actually plan on using in a game, then I think I probably would take all that into account.